Hey Turanga, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. As I mentioned just before we started recording, I'm hiding inside from the cyclone that's happening here in New Zealand at the moment for our Easter weekend. It's supposed to be the long weekend. Everyone was supposed to be going away on holiday and going camping or whatever, but nope, we're all staying inside now. It's terrible weather out there.
Yeah, be safe there.
Exactly.
Yeah. But let's talk about your new album that you release at the end of March. So let me tell is tell me if it's wrong how I pronounce ther.
Perfect.
Yes. I think.
First try.
Yeah. So what can you tell about its genesis and lyrics?
Yeah, so for this album, musically speaking, we wanted to try and achieve a middle ground between the last two albums. You know, the first album, of course, the debut album, it was the big album on the scene and introduced everybody to alien weaponry. And the second album was their like first attempt at trying something different. Depending on who you ask, the reception of that second album was varied. Some people really liked it, some people not so much, some people felt impartial. Um, but we didn't want that, you know. We like, of course, experimenting with things, but you don't want to divide your audience, you know. In general, people just liked the first album. So we wanted to figure out how to get that sensation again. But while us as musicians were able to evolve and continue moving forward in a way that keeps us feeling fulfilled in the music that we're making, we didn't want to feel like we were making the first album again. So we kind of took a step back and went, okay, what are some of the what are the highlights of the first album? What are the highlights of the second album? And what are we feeling like now in our general inspirations and creative stages in our lives? And let's try and merge all those together to create this album. So that was kind of the ethos of the music. Lyrically speaking, it's all over the board. The English stuff is all written by Lewis, our front man. And he always writes about things that have personally affected him. So whether it's his mental health or his relationships, or the way he's observed things happening in the world, so social media or international conflict, things like war, is what he talks about in the English stuff. And then the Maori lyrics are all pertaining to things Maori, whether that is uh, mythology, history, um, other things, our traditions, our culture, ways to just expand and open up people's minds to this culture and people that they may not normally be exposed to, is all we focus in on the Maori stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And you have also a guest in one of the song. So it's Randy from Lamb of God. In the song is Taniwa.
Yeah, the funny thing about that song is that word, I should say. In the Maori language, the WH makes an F sound.
Okay.
It's
So
the
it's
only word, or like, what do you call it? Grammatical quirk of the language. Like when you're reading it, it doesn't match what you want to say. But so it's taniwha, is how we would pronounce that over here. There's a long reason why WH makes an F sound, but that's for another day.
yeah. So I was working with him, and how did you get in touch with him? So how did it happen?
Yeah, so actually the way it happened was Randy had reached out to me on Instagram, unrelated. It was unrelated to music. He had seen one of my social media videos, and on my personal social media, I post a lot of content about Maori culture and try to guide people in the right direction surrounding things Maori. And he saw a video I had posted about recommending a book about Maori traditions, and he'd sent me a message saying, "Hey man, I just wanted to let you know I bought this book and I think it's really great. Cool recommendation, like you guys' music." And I was like, "Oh, sick. Thanks, So he kind of broke the ice, so to speak. We didn't talk about the song in that moment, but it just meant that there was already a form of contact had been made. So months later, when I'm we're in the demo process and I'm listening to some of the demos. I'm like, oh, this song kind of needs something. I don't know what it is yet. And I was pondering a few different ideas. And then one day I was actually at the airport, waiting to pick somebody up, and I was like, oh, it's Randy. That's who I need to ask. I need to ask Randy. And for anyone who doesn't know, Lamb of God is Lewis's favorite band of all time. Like it's the Lewis often acknowledges Randy and Lamb of God as being the reason that alien weaponry exists today is because of Lamb of God. Um, and so I knew how important that would be to Lewis having Randy on the song. So I didn't tell them that I was going to reach out to Randy because if he said no, then they'd be quite upset. So I privately reached out to Randy, said, "Hey man, I've just been listening to our demos and I think you'd sound really great on the song. Would you be keen?" And he said yes, you know. And then I said, "Sweet, we'll be in touch whenever we get to that process." And then probably a year passed, and now we're finally in the studio. And between then and the studio time, we had found out we were working with Josh Wilbur, our producer, who has worked for many, many years with Lamb of God. So it kind of worked out perfectly too, because it meant that Josh has a long time friendship and relationship with Randy. So when we told him that Randy was going to be in a song, he was like, "Ah, easy. I've recorded Randy many times. I know exactly what to do." And he just flew to Randy's house because Randy was on tour when we were in the studio, so he had to record him afterwards. He just flew straight to his house and recorded it, and it was great. So it all came together really well, and particularly for Lewis, it was one of those sort of pinch yourself milestones in
Yeah.
their career as a young band from New Zealand to have like one of the greatest heavy metal vocalists of all time featuring on our third album was like kind of surreal. Um, he's just a very humble dude, very down to earth guy, Randy, and a genius at what he does. The lyrics that he wrote in that song were all his lyrics. He
Yeah.
wrote them all himself. Even the Maori words, he has two Maori words in there. He did them himself. We didn't need to help him. So it was a really awesome collaborative effort.
Yeah, that's great. And it's a kind of a dream coming true. So
Exactly.
um, I love to hear about those story and also seeing big names in the metal scene being humble, human like everyone else, and be happy to collaborate with also newest band because yeah, you have three album, but you are still growing.
Exactly.
So that's great. So your album has been received very well, and for many, even if we are at the beginning of the year still, for many is the so far the best album released this year.
Yeah.
So how do you feel about this?
Oh man, I mean, we are like, obviously when we finished recording the album, we were feeling happy with what we have created. But we can feel whatever we feel about it. It's the audience that really dictates, the general response to the album. So when it was coming up to the release, we were like, oh God, I hope people like it. And you always get that little bit of nervous and panic, like, what if people hate it? And then though, the response has been so positive and so overwhelming. And you're right, a lot of people are like, easily top five albums of the year for me already. And I was like, there's a lot of music still to come. So that's a very bold statement. So we really appreciate all the and are very flattered by all the kind words and the awesome response that we've had so far. And what we're really looking forward to now is like how people respond to it live. Like listening to it at home is one thing, but getting it in your face on stage is another. And New Zealand, we did a New Zealand tour 2 weeks before the album launched, and we were playing the new songs on that tour. But of course, at that point, nobody had heard these songs yet. And when we were playing them live on for the first time for audiences that had never heard them, the response was crazy. They were going crazy in the pit over some of these songs, and we were like, "Oh God, imagine it when they finally hear the song and get to know the song. So the next time they see us live, it might be even crazier." So that's why we're really looking forward to getting on tour again, wherever we are in the world, to put the songs to the test properly on stage.
Yeah, yeah. And you also had a North America tour with Kerry King at the beginning of this year.
Yep.
So how was that?
Yeah, that's another example of someone big, a legend in the scene, someone very well known, being very humble and down to earth. And, obviously, like we all like to think like people are just humans, and people are just people and we're all just people. But sometimes you do come across the stars who behave like you might expect, kind of thing. Someone like Kerry is not at all that. He was from day one, the first day on tour, he came up to us, said, "Hey guys, nice to have you guys on the tour, and I um I heard your new song on Sirius XM radio, and I really like it, and I hope you enjoy the tour, So from day one, it sort of set the precedent for this very honest, down to earth dude, and then comes the what you can learn by being on the road with somebody like Kerry King. To put it into perspective, Kerry in particular has been a touring musician longer than we have been alive. Us three members of Alien Weaponry. And so with that comes a huge amount of expertise and experience that you can learn from. So these sorts of opportunities for us are like we kind of sit side of stage with our notepad, and go, oh, and that's not just to say we're learning from him or his band, but also his crew. He's got amazing, talented crew that have been doing this also for a long time and maybe have worked with him specifically for a very long time. And we learned some amazing things from the behind the scenes side of it, to make tours work and function and smoother ways to get our guitars ready or, all sorts of things like this, that are all such valuable for a band. Like we said, yes, 3 albums, but we're still trying to grow and get up there. We're still kind of fresh on the block for a lot of people, and all these amazing tours where we get to share the stages with amazing talented musicians are all opportunities for us to learn, to develop ourselves and further ourselves in the industry too. So maybe one day we can be in that position, who knows. So it's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. Talking now about the music video, you released two music video from this album, Mau Moko and then Thousand Friends. What can you tell about those videos? Maybe something about the behind the scene or the idea of the videos, even if
Yeah,
it's
so
clear the idea watching the videos, but still,
well, I think it's particularly for Mo Moko, like a lot of people have been misquoting or misunderstanding that the video content is what the song is about. They're like where people say, "Oh, the song Mo Moko is about the heads," but it's not. If you actually read the lyrics, read the translation, I should say. And this is one of the things that we like to approach with the videos. Because we sing in another language, unless you understand the language or have the translation, you have no idea what we're talking about. So the videos are another opportunity for us to expand on the message that we're trying to tell. So the videos aren't always a one-to-one representation of what the lyrics are. Because you can get that by reading the lyrics. So the video is a way for us to further the education and bring another element into it. So the song Mo Moko is about moko, which is our traditional tattoos. And the song in general is about bringing pride back to that tradition. The video talks about a portion of moko's history, which was the head trade. So they're still related, but they're not like a one-to-one replica of what's being sung about. So for the Momoko video, we were like, what's a something cool that we can, evolve on or tell people about that they might not know about? And it was the head trade portion of the history, where people would trade these preserved heads because they had moko on them, and they were deceased, they were real people. And then it caused a whole bunch of fights, and lots of Maori were killing each other to sell their enemies' heads to the British for whatever, and now the places like the British Museum supposedly have hundreds of these heads sitting in basements, and people want them back, So it's an awesome opportunity for us to bring further awareness to something versus like being, this song's about Moko, let's just make it a video that matches the song directly. There's actually only one line in the song that is what inspired the video, which is about you display our skin, you know, um, like art.
Yeah.
And that's what we were referencing was how they thought these heads were fascinating. So they would buy them and then put them on a wall and be like, look at this. A Thousand Friends, well, that was a really fun shoot because that was something where we get to, try something a little, you get to have to be clever with it because for our Maori videos, they require a lot of our video budgets, because they're a lot more grander in scale. They have big casts and things. So when we do something like A Thousand Friends, it's just us in a studio and having to figure out how we can tell this message in the cheapest, way possible. So that was a really fun one to try and do. The finished video that I think turned out great, and there's all these beautiful shots of Lewis like lying on a cell phone, and there's this huge cell phone falling on him, is not at all what it looked like in the studio. He was lying on a construction horse, and it was just like super rackety, and it had a sheet of like perspex or whatever, and a light underneath it. So he was like trying to balance on this rackety bit of plastic. It didn't at all look like a phone, and then the post production magic that our director and editor does brings the image to life, to make it look like a phone. But it was quite funny, like when we saw the finished product, we were like, oh wow, that looks great. It looked a lot better than it looked in the studio. And Lewis was like trying to balance on this piece of wood because it had to be super thin so that the light would still show. It couldn't be on a solid platform because otherwise you couldn't have the light come through. So he was lying on the bar because obviously the light doesn't need to shine through him. So he was on this tiny piece of wood and he was trying to like lie on it like this. And then the rest of it was this big thing that was representing the phone screen and the light beaming through it. Yeah, so that was quite. It had some funny little visual effects shots that we had to try and achieve. Like there's the one shot in it as well where there's all these hooded figures that represent the faceless numbers of social media users. But we only had like two or three people. So we had to like do all these
Yeah.
shots where they would swap sides. So then the director, the editor could superimpose them all over each other to make it look like a bigger group. So all those sorts of little visual effects, filmmaking tricks to try and get what we needed to be done. But it was one of those ones where we had to have a lot of faith in our editor, like because the way it looked in the studio, we were like, oh God, what is this gonna look like?
Yeah. Yeah. But it's interesting always talking about the music video because uh, the final product may be very different from what the reality is.
That's
So
right.
it's crazy how someone can make from something something really basic in a way,
Hmm.
something that looks super expensive, and
Right.
so it's
And we've had to learn, and our director and director of photography has had to learn how to do that, because our, that's normally one of the areas for us where like the funding is pretty limited, is in the music videos, so but we'd have never wanted it to reflect in our music videos. A lot of people think Kai Tangata, for example, obviously the hit song of Alien Weaponry and the video particularly, a lot of people think that was a huge budget production, because it looks a certain way. And they were like, no, it was like a lot of scrounging together friends and family to be a part of it to try and, because you just can't afford to pay for actors or things like that. And we're still in that position, and it's quite fun to kind of get creative to try and make yeah, like a seemingly high production video or not at all a high production budget.
yeah, yeah. And you also record, film a new music video.
Yes, we just this last weekend, this past weekend, what's it today here? Wednesday. Yeah, so on Saturday, last Saturday, we spent the day filming our next music video, which was a lot of fun. And that one again, speaking of budgets, was even lower again. So normally we film over the course of 2 days. This one was done in one day.
Okay.
And so it was like really like pushing every last cent we could get out of our music video budgets to get this one video done. And I think it turned out all right, you know. And again, now we get to wait and see what the final edit and all that comes through. And I think this video will be interesting for people. It's a little different to what we normally do as well. I kind of got a different aesthetic to it, trying to tell a different message again. So yeah, we're looking forward to having that one come out and people dive into it and try pick out the Easter eggs and the the full message out of what we're doing.
Okay. And have you any idea more or less when it should be released?
I think soon, like sooner rather than later, because um, yeah, they're trying to get a quick turnaround on it anyway. So I think it'll be within the month, if I
Okay.
understand correctly. But the label decides that in the end, so they might change their mind. I'm not sure what their plans are.
Yeah, yeah. So let's wait. At some point, it's going
Yeah,
to be out.
I think it is sooner rather than later for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Do you have any tour coming?
So behind the scenes, they've been working away on stuff, and so we know now like when that is, but they haven't announced it yet. So, also stay tuned for that, you know, because I think that announcement will be coming at some point soonish as well. Pretty exciting stuff for me, a dream tour. So that maybe hints at it for some people, what's to come. So I'm very excited for this upcoming tours. And we just now we're waiting for the day that we can tell everybody exactly where and when.
Yeah. There is any country that you would like to go to play that it's going to be your first time there?
Well, you know, in terms of the realistic market, like the market that can actually play in general, like the other bands, there's two places we have never been yet, which is Japan and South America. So those are still on our list of like, you know, one day we'd love to tick those off. I think we'd all really love to go to Japan, but we've been told by a lot of people that South America has the best crowds in the world. You know, a lot of bands tell us, "Have you played South America yet? They're the best crowds in the entire world." So, you know, we'd really like to do that. But for us as a band, our true dream tour is through the Pacific Islands. You know, we're obviously a Polynesian band that sing about a Polynesian culture. We would love to tour the Pacific Islands one day, you know, and share our music with our people and our extended people through all the cultures that we share across the Pacific Ocean. But that's the sort of tour that I think we'd have to be very famous for, and it would potentially have to come out of our own pocket. I don't think you tour the Pacific Islands to make profit very much, but we would love to do it one day as a kind of a, you know, a homage to the people and cultures that create the Polynesian peoples, you know. So that's our like dream tour.
Yeah. And I hope that it's going to happen at some point for real.
I know, even if it takes 20 years, it'd be worth it.
Yeah, but I think that maybe it's going to happen before that what you think. I have this feeling. So
Ah, that would be great. I would welcome that.
yeah, so let's hope that my feeling is right.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, but we have done with this interview. Thank you so much for for your time. Would you like to say something to your fans and people that are watching this interview?
Oh, you know, just the usual. Thank you so much for the crazy response that we've had so far on this album. You know, again, we you can only hope so much, and in the same vein, you try to manage your expectations in case, you know, it doesn't end up that way. But the response has actually exceeded our expectations, and we're all feeling very, you know, flattered and grateful for the audience and the fans that we have, both new fans and old fans. You know, it's been awesome to see like new people discovering us through this album as well. So we just can't wait to get back out on the road and start playing it for everybody, and yeah, stay very posted for what's coming up. You know, it's going to be sweet.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.